And hello, welcome to Solo Playthroughs. Gonna adjust this camera a little bit. There we go. That's a beautiful thing. We have a double header today of Arkham Horror, the living card game, or Arkham Horror, the card game, or Arkham Horror, the collectible card game. Whatever, TCG, LCG, whatever you want to call it. But there's cards, and it's a game, and it's based in Arkham because it's Arkham, and there's not enough Lovecraftian Cthulhu games in the world at this point. So this is still by far my favorite. Although I did play Unfathomable over the weekend, and as much as I groaned when I was like, "Oh, they're turning BSG into another Arkham game," I like that. But I'm way afield from what I should be talking about, which is Trish Scarborough and the War of the Outer Gods side scenario. We will be concluding the cycle through the side scenarios today, so it's going to get both on the channel today. And we have Trish Scarborough in the War of the Outer Gods, and we're going to have the Cheese Man himself, Monterey Jack, in the Machinations of Time side scenario. I'm going to try to start that at 4. We'll see how quickly I can get this one done. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. These side scenarios, Shoe Solo, usually don't take all that long. 2 hours is about right. So unfortunately, that means we're not going to have a side scenario left for Winifred Habermock. I will have to get her on the channel way in the future. She's an interesting play. She can be very strong. It is not a preferred way of how I like to play the game. Uh, Definitely the rogue class more than the survivors are a little bit hit and miss for me personally in some of their mechanics. But Trish is cool. Trish is not great for this scenario. I am finding, plus, I built my deck very weird. I tried to do a couple of new things, and I'm not sure that was the right choice. So this might be a short one indeed. But Trish has a lot of cool things that I like about her. Her stat line is pretty good. I mean, it's a 2 willpower. It's obviously bad, but it's standard for rogues. We have a 4 intellect and a 4 agility, which makes her very, very flexible and very, very good there. And then we have a 2 combat, which again, a little bit higher of a combat might have gone a longer way in this scenario. I also probably could have gone ahead and given her the ornate bow. That might not be the worst idea. I gotta beef up this deck somehow. Ornate Bow could be really strong. I think I'm gonna do some things on the fly, kids. You're gonna get a special look, behind the scenes look at how Greg builds his deck and all the chaos that is there. So if I get the Ornate Bow, and I might actually go ahead and take Ellie Horowitz, and I think that will actually make this deck pop a little bit more. Now, granted, I already have my 2 weaknesses. I have 2 weaknesses. I'm doing 19 XP, so I'm treating this as a side scenario. I mean, you can play War of Out of the Gods as a part of a campaign. However, that would cost you 3 XP. I'm just doing this as a one-off. Where is Ellie? Ellie costs 3. Let me do that. I'm going to sub some things out of here real quick. So I need to get. I have spent 19 XP, which is why I have 2 weaknesses. I'm going to have to reassign 3, but I found that I just did not have the combat that I needed to actually deal with this scenario well. So I think this hopefully will make for a much better situation. I will drop the cat burglar because he's stupid expensive. And then we'll get the ornate bow, and we have Ellie, who is going to be really solid and allows us to get a relic, and the ornate bow is a relic, so hopefully we get lucky there. I do have a rather thin deck because I am running Underworld Support, which is not a card I have used often, which honestly is a card I probably should use more with the way I build my decks, and I don't do a lot of doubles, which I do sacrifice a bit in deck consistency, but I get a wider variety of a play experience. That could work. There's Need to get out 2 more XP here. Leo's fine. Switchblade. I like the moon. How to build your deck on the fly, kids. I like the Lilo. Do have a lot of allies here, so maybe I have too many allies. So if I drop Delilah, I already dropped that dude. I like Short Gamble. I could drop that though. It's expensive for what it is. Yeah, let me drop Short Gamble. I'll take the Ornate Bow. And that will get me down to 18 XP, which is fine. Which is fine. Oh, wrong way. And maybe, let's see if there's another 1 XP card I want to grab here. Momentum's pretty good. Savant. 3 aces. Think I don't have a momentum. Again, with Underworld support, I am not allowed to have any doubles. So that's a thing. It's fine. Scout's pretty good. Lone Wolf. Yeah, I think I'm good with this. Oh, this is an expensive deck. Maybe I drop Followed. One additional clue. That could be really strong. Intel Report. It's great. Ellie. Pocket Telescope is not something I was using, but it could be really good for Trish. Do you want that? Yeah, I'll just run 18 XP. There's really nothing I want to drop here, and that's totally fine. So, not going to grab Momentum. Running an 18 XP deck, and I'll go through that as we go. All right, we have Sajid Sarif. Hello, hello, hello. Still not finished with the Dragon video from yesterday. We'll watch that now. Come back here in case I find any issues. Great. Good to see it. Note there was a comment from Warlord Drake. Warlord Drake is the designer, Drake Seawood, of that scenario. There was a couple of minor things I had wrong, but there was one pretty significant thing that I had wrong where I was only applying the dragon powers every time I had a card that I pulled off the Dragon's deck that matched a dice in the source. You're actually supposed to apply the Dragon Power every turn and then roll the die for maybe an enhanced effect if there's a matching die in the source. So that's pretty significant. Savant is actually quite amazing in Jenny. +4 skill icons on commit for 1 XP. Yes, please. I do have a Savant in here for sure. I love Savant for friggin' anybody. It's such a good card for sure. Um, so but yeah, great for Jenny, and it's +3 for freaking Trish Scarborough, so that'll be fine. Sagittarius says, "Good luck with this." Thank you. Martin Burke says, "Hello, hello, sir." So, all right, sorry about that adjustment. I just realized, that would be a. I'm trying to make sure this isn't an absolute butt kicking and try to get something interesting. And I really think if I can pull off this Ellie Horowitz combination with the ornate bow, which I haven't played in quite some time, I think that would make me really good. With so many cards out, I find that I forget about some of the neutral XP cards. I'll just dig through like a class, especially when I'm doing a rogue cycle, right? But I think especially with this build and with some of the limitations of Trish Scarborough only having a 2 combat as a base, that ornate bow could be a huge game changer, and we'll see if that plays out. So let's get into what XP cards I did take. So I got the Moon, having a +1 agility. Look, if you start with a 4 agility, that's great. But if you can start with 5, I mean, we'll see the difference when I do the Monterey Jack playthrough later today. At 5, if anything is elite, man. If you have the investigators that have 5 willpower or 5 intellect, 5 combat, getting a 5 is so good. I mean, 2/4 is fine, but if I can get the lucky enough to get the Moon out in my opening draw, and especially with only 25 cards in my deck, not counting the special cards, there's really 29 when you count the 2 weaknesses. It would be a really nice boon to give me that passive stat bump from right at the beginning of the game. So we have the Moon in there. We have the backstab, the upgraded backstab. So if I succeed by 2 or more, I actually get to bring this back into my hand, which is nice. It does cost 3 resources though, so that can get really expensive really quick. We have Switchblade, the upgraded Switchblade. So that cost me again 3 XP because of the taboo rules. I have the upgraded Leo to save a resource there. We have Savant, Delilah O'Rourke, Ornate Bow, and then I did take a Charisma. Again, Underworld support, which I've mentioned a couple of times. I will read it. Permanent, limit 1 per deck. Purchase at deck creation. Your deck cannot include more than 1 copy of each non-weakness, non-signature card by title. Reduce your deck size by 5. So that's why this deck looks a little bit smaller. Trish, her deck building restrictions are rogue cards 0 to 5, neutral cards 0 to 5, secret cards 0 to 2, and then her unique cards, which I'll get into. So you'll just see a lot of the classic Seeker cards in here. I did take one dual color Seeker Rogue card. The Pocket Telescope could be really significant with Trish's special ability. We have Scout Ahead, but the rest of these are probably some good old normal cards that span all of the various scenarios. We have my two weaknesses. I pulled Amnesia, which can be brutal if I get this at the wrong time. Choose and discard all but one card from your hand. And then, for good measure, we got ourselves some Overzealous. Draw the top card of the encounter deck. That card gains Surge. Oh, wonderful. But nothing here I really want to talk about. Remember, Elusive went from a mutated card that was level 2, is now back to a level 0 card, but it was just changed and just rebalanced. I really like what they did with that. My unique cards, we have Shadow Agents, Trish Scarborough only, Hunter. While Shadow Agents is engaged with you, you cannot discover clues except by investigating. Forced, after Shadow Agents is evaded, discard it. However, to evade Shadow Agents, again, that is a 5, so hopefully I can get some boosts here. Delilah O'Rourke would be another good way for me to get a boost on my agility stat line there. If I can get a Delilah O'Rourke in play along with the Moon, again the Tower card, taking up the Tower card slot, that would give me a 6 going in, which would be pretty awesome. My unique card is In the Shadows. Fast, play after your turn begins. Disengage from each enemy engaged with you until the end of the round. Enemies cannot engage with you and you cannot deal damage to enemies. The flavor text here, Storytime with Greg. Trish had always excelled in the both body and sorry, let me start over. Rewind. Try again. Trish had always excelled in both body and mind. Her unwavering focus on excellence and her fearless disposition, a winning combination. Given her stellar academic and athletic records, everyone expected to see her become something great. Instead, Trish took a job at a commercial code company. The initial shock of her humble work eventually wore off, and the exceptional Trish Scarborough faded into obscurity. This suited Trish just fine, as it made it harder for anyone to realize the truth. Her job was a cover for her true work as a spy with the Black Chamber, the Bureau's code-breaking agency. Dun dun dun! Agency, detective. After you discover one or more clues at a location with an enemy, either discover one additional clue at that location, or automatically evade that enemy. So it's really nice in a multiplayer game, right? Because if someone else is engaged with an enemy, you can go to that location, discover a clue, yoink, that enemy is evaded. Normally, if you're doing an evade action, you have to be engaged with the enemy, but that's not the case here, right? Because it's like that cunning distraction, right? Where it just evades everybody, which is nice. So disengage and exhaust. So you can either discover additional clue or evade the enemy. This is in theory fine for Trish. However, remember it's going to cause a lot of attacks of opportunity. So one card I probably should have taken was I don't have anything that cancels attack of opportunity, which is probably another thing I messed up with this deck. But that is also part of the drawback of doing underworld support, and now I've basically put myself in a place where I have more consistency that I can expect to see all the cards that are in here, but there are some cards I might have wanted in here that aren't going to be there. But I actually might go ahead and what's the one that cancels up to 3? No, not that one. There's that row card that cancels up to 3 attacks of opportunity, and it takes up an arcane slot. I might try to grab that. Obfuscation. That could be really strong. Let me try to get this in the deck. So I'm just changing all this up on the fly, guys, because I don't know what I'm doing. It's like I've never played this game before. Sometimes I actually feel that way. I'm like, what? What is happening? But I promise I really don't want to drop any of these suckers. Add your evade value to your skill value. So if you succeed, you auto-activate the enemy location. Let me drop breaking and entering, and I'll grab obfuscation. I think that's a better use of 2 resources. All right, done. Obfuscation again if I have attacks of opportunity. So it gets out fast, which is nice. It takes up an arcane slot, which I don't care about. When an enemy makes an attack of opportunity against you, spend 1 charge. You can cancel that attack, and it's 3 charges there. So that could work really well with this, where I can cancel an attack, go ahead, investigate, and then evade that enemy. I think that would be a really nice combo. So final answer, this is my deck. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this up, and then we'll get the rest of this thing set up. Martin Brooks, have you played this scenario before? Yes, not as often as I've played the other side scenarios. The last few have gotten a little bit less love from me as far as time spent. I've been doing a lot more campaigns, a lot more three-handed campaigns in my Arkham plays. Um, but yeah, it's a very cool scenario. There's things I like about it, things I don't. I find it I mean, true solo is always a swingy way to play this game. I find this scenario to be among the most swingy experiences true solo because the way that deck comes out and probably does play better at higher player counts just because of the nature of how this scenario sets up in multiple ways. Plus, there's like different resolutions at the end based on number of player counts. But very cool ideas in this scenario. I really like how they've been pushing the envelope. I feel like from a creative space with the side scenarios. Um, I do like this one. You know, it kind of falls behind Blob for me, Carnival, Rougarou, but it's very good. Machinations is a very different feel, so we'll talk more about that later. I do feel like Machinations is a little bit too, especially True Solo, like ABC, like puzzly, not necessarily the Arkham experience that I would normally want. So we'll see where the next couple of side scenarios go. But yeah, this one's very cool. It does a lot of does a lot of things very well. So we're going to have the hub dimension location. I'm just going to put that aside. And then we have all of our locations. There are a ton of them. So we have Arkham. What led behind our joint love of shadows and marvels was no doubt the ancient, moldering, and subtly fearsome town in which we live. Witch-cursed, legend-haunted Arkham, whose huddled, sagging, gambrel roofs and crumbling Georgian balustrades brood out the centuries beside the darkly mothering Miskatonic. Dun dun dun. So Arkham's going to be in the center of the universe here. And then we're going to have three towns. We have Montreal, which we'll put up there. And then we'll have two other Montreal locations. So this is like a little bit of like a shades of Rougarou, so to speak, right? So each of the three locations, we're going to have New York, Providence, and Montreal. Each of the three locations will have like the streets area, and then you'll have a ritual site area, and then you'll have one other location. So here we have the streets of Montreal, we have the shrine of Maghan Arkat, and then we have Chateau Ramsey. Now, each of these locations basically represents like the home city of the of a cult, right? Because this is a war of the outer gods. So each cult is basically serving a different outer god, and now it's all coming to a head, and all of humanity hangs in the existence as this war plays out among these three factions. We have the streets of New York over here, and again, similarly, we have the ritual site, which is the burning pit, and we have the penthouse, which will go there. And down here, we have Providence, again, the streets of Providence. We have the ritual site, which is the Athenium of the empty sky, and then we have the arcade, which will go there. We have three different agendas in one act, so it's a little bit bananas in that sense. I'm going to try to fit this over here. I think this would be the best place for it. So here's our act deck, and then we're going to have the green agenda, the blue agenda, and the red agenda. Now, as you're learning this scenario, you're really supposed to play it out in this order. So you have like the green every time, like a faction acts. So like the green, the blue, and the red. So think about them as the three different cults. You go green, blue, then red. You can vary up that order, and there's a lot of different variants at the back of this book of how you can vary that order from game to game. You can vary that order from round to round. You can vary that order from agenda number to agenda number. So there's a lot of replayability and variability that goes into that. I will go ahead and read the agendas now. So we have the incubation of the egg in a profane place hidden from society. An entity siphons otherworldly heat from another dimension. This agenda has a global doom threshold of 6 per group. There's only one group, obviously, so it's going to be 6. Force when the agenda advances. If you're playing in a single group mode, remove 6 doom from it and move all excess doom to the next green agenda. If you're playing in epic multiplayer mode, move all doom and wards from it to the next agenda. Wards are a whole other concept, which we'll get into. There's a lot of things. If you haven't played Dream Eaters, like this side scenario uses the swarming mechanic. There's a whole warring mechanic. All that will become clear as we play. And then we have the summoning of Selenus. Deep in the cosmos of another dimension, something begins to seep through the veil between worlds, and it has the same text after that. group. The doom threshold is going to be 6, and then the same stuff. If there's more than 6, the remainder will go to the next agenda, and we'll go from there. And then agenda 1A for the red cult, the proliferation of the swarm from a pit deep within the crust of the earth. Something horrid begins to emerge. And again, the same text there. Now, what's playing out in the first couple of rounds here, or basically throughout the entirety of the scenario, is that these 3 cults are really trying to get the most of their doom on the board. Now, unlike other scenarios that have multiple agendas, I think that there's the one in Carcosa, and when we place Doom during the Mythos phase, you are going to place a Doom on each of these agendas. It is not just choose the one you want. And then if you ever place Doom on a card that's not an agenda card, you have to choose which of these 3 to place Doom on. And there's a whole bunch of Mythos cards in the treacheries and stuff like that will add more Doom in play. We are going to start this game with 3 cultists on the board. That is not a cultist. Where is the green cultist? All right. Yeah, cool. That will go there. So we're going to have the Zealot of Paradise, aloof and warring. She spawns in the shrine of Magan Harkat. At the end of the round, if no blue or red enemies are in play, place 1 Doom on the green agenda. So basically, they're reigning supreme, so they're going to get to usher in more Doom. We have the Nihilistic Stargazer, aloof warring, spawns in the Athenium of the empty sky. At the end of the round, if no green or red enemies are in play, place 1 Doom on the blue agenda. A swift and painless end is a mercy. What is this flavor text? We shall usher in a new paradise. Of course we shall. And then the Discipline of the Swarm, aloof, warring, spawns in the burning pit. At the end of the round, if no blue or green enemies are in play, place 1 Doom on the red agenda. Assimilation is the only way. You will notice that we have 27 cards left. So we have 9 that go for the green faction, 9 that go for the blue faction, and 9 that go for the red faction. We'll just set those aside, and I'll get them underneath my face up here, and we will see many of these cards as the game progresses. Here is the scenario card. So we're going to play on standard mode here. The skull is -1 for each clue you have. The cultist is -3. If you fail, place 1 resource on the nearest mutated enemy as a mutation. The cultists are going to be associated with the green faction. We have the tablets. If you fail, draw the top hex card on the encounter discard pile. That's going to be associated with the blue faction. Sorry about that, getting over a little bit of a cough, so hopefully that is not too annoying today. And then we have the outer thing, -4. If you fail, place 1 card committed to this test face down underneath an insect enemy as a swarm card. That is associated with the red faction. We'll put that up there, and again, I have that on the screen for you all to see. The hub dimension location, again, will come out of play. We'll come back to this in a bit. And now we have our chaos tokens. Again, we have 15 chaos tokens to start, so we don't have any cultists, any elder things, or any tablets to start the scenario. Don't worry, we'll get there. They will join us soon, kids. That is absolutely correct. Gaming rules just popping in to say hi for my sick bed. COVID. Hope you're doing okay. Hey, what's up, Paul? Thanks for stopping in, and sorry to hear about the COVID, man. I got a little bit of a cold myself, and I definitely took a couple of tests. So I'm happy to say I don't have COVID, but that totally sucks. It's definitely been going around. David R. This is a really good side scenario. Thank you, David. Gaming rules. I've only played the Carnival side scenario, none of the others. Ooh, yeah, definitely recommend a bunch of them, man. Rougarou is great. I mean, honestly, skip Abyss unless you are just diehard about them. Skip Abyss. Don't. I mean, no, my bad. Skip Labyrinths. Don't play Abyss. Abyss is terrible. It's really. It's got a lot of good ideas. Its execution is terrible. Excelsior Hotel. I haven't even mentioned that yet. Excelsior Hotel is awesome. Get well soon, Paul. And then Phoenix Knight says not to play backseat quarterback. Also, don't want to get into the spoilers, but you might need more room for the agendas later on. Yeah, we're good. I think I'll be able to make this work. But I appreciate the heads up. Eric's watching out for me when it comes to these Arkham things, man. I really appreciate it. All right, Trish is going to start in Arkham. Shroud value 5, clue value 1. Arkham cannot have attachments. Spend 1 per investigator resource, move to a connecting location, so that's a nice little extra movement every turn if we want it, but that shroud value of a 5 is nasty. So there's not many cards left to start the game in the agenda deck. Trust me, we will get more, and it will be super interesting. I do want to take a look at the icons real quick to make sure I have not added any cards that are not supposed to be in here. I have not, so we're good with that. But I think we're all set up now. Did a little deck building on the fly because, that's like always the way you want to do these things, Greg. And, we got everything set up. Kind of, I don't know, I feel oddly good about this, but I'm sure Arkham will Arkham, and I will feel oddly not good about this in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned. So I'm going to put the agenda deck up here. That should work. We're going to kind of pull this into the screen a little bit more. And now let's go ahead and start pulling my opening hand. So my first 5 cards, we have Manual Dexterity. Oh, look, it's Trish. Trish pulls Trish. It's always a good day. We have Elusive. We have Switchblade. We have Delilah O'Rourke. And we have Backstab. I kind of want Leo. And I kind of want Ellie. I like Delilah. I don't hate that. I'm kind of digging to try to get that Tower card out too, because that would be really, really nice to pull that. So let me do a deep mulligan here. I'll keep Delilah. I get Plan of Action. I mean, are all these Trish? I didn't realize how much of this art is just Trish everywhere. That's ridiculous. Wait, this card. Eureka. There's Ellie. And please don't be the Ornate Bow. And that's great. There's Sneak Attack. Alright, let me see how I want to play this first round. So I did not get the tarot card, so that's a problem. But I might be able to pull Ellie. I'm going to try to put Ellie down and get myself the Ornate Bow. I think that'd be really, really strong a really, really strong way to start this game. So my first action, I do need to take resources. Again, I do have upgraded tokens for that. So we have 5 resources there. I'm going to put Ellie into play and just hope that I pull the Ornate Bow out of the top 9 cards of this deck. Remember, I only have 20 cards there, so I'm about 50% to do it. So here goes nothing. Ornate Bow, please. There we go. That's the only relic I think that's in my deck. That's 9. So after Ellie Horowitz enters play, search the top 9 cards of your deck for a relic asset and attach it to her. Great. Relic assets attached to Dr. Ellie Horowitz do not take any slots and is still considered into play and under your control. So I'm going to have the Ornate Bow next to Ellie, and that's a really strong way to start the game. So uses. It comes in with 1 use. I'm going to go ahead. I think I have a special Ornate Bow token. Indeed I do. Oh, that's amazing. Great. So it comes into play and it is already cocked. So I don't know if that's easy to see on the camera. These are, my friend Zach bought all these crazy Arkham tokens and just leaves them here, which is fine. Now, when I use the Ornate Bow by spending the ammo to fight, this attack will use agility instead of combat. I get +2 agility and deal +2 damage. It's a really, really strong attack. Now, as an action, I'm going to need to knock another bow. So it's a really strong attack, but remember, I'm going to need to spend 2 actions to get that attack. 1 to knock the bow, 1 to attack. The good thing is it comes into play already knocked, and now I'm going to be pretty set up there to do 3 damage at some point in this game. Now that if Ellie leaves play, the Ornate Bow leaves play with her, so hopefully I can manage to save her, but she only has 1 damage shield, so that could be a serious problem, but we'll see how that plays out. I'm going to take these other 8 cards, I'm going to shuffle them back into my deck, and every time you search a deck, remember you have to shuffle it afterwards. So that little last minute addition is paying off, at least in setup. We'll see if that plays out. I do want to get another asset in play because I don't want to have a card make me lose an asset and then all of a sudden I just wasted all that time. Not have any other assets in my hand though. Oh, except for Delilah. Getting Delilah out isn't the craziest thing. I mean, Leo would be nice, but Delilah would give me +1 agility and +1 combat, plus she has some other things that she can do. My third action... No, it's my second action, right? Because my first action was to play that. This should work. My second action is I will get a resource. My third action is I'll put Delilah in play. Alright, so That gives me a little bit of a shield for Dr. Ellie, and everything else looks pretty good. So not the most exciting of turns, but I got got two allies out, and really gave me some nice stat boost plus a really strong weapon. So feel good about that. And now we go to the enemy phase. In the enemy phase, we're gonna have to look for the warring keyword, right? So warring is just basically another. It's like patrol. It's like a quasi huntery kind of thing. So anytime someone has a warring keyword, they're going to move toward another enemy of another faction. And I think they might only move. Enemies, they warring enemies do not move. Yeah, they only move toward other warring enemies that are on the board. And if they don't have the warring keyword themselves, they don't move, right? So you're going to move in faction order. So the green enemy up here, the Zealot of Paradise, is going to move toward the warring enemy of either of these two factions. They're equal distance, so we don't have to decide between the two. So they're going to move from the Shrine of Magan Hakat to the Streets of Montreal. The blue faction is next. The blue faction is going to move to the Streets of Providence, and the red faction is next. They're going to move to the Disciple of the Swarm is going to move to the streets of New York City. We're now going to go to the upkeep phase. I draw a card. It is my Switchblade, and now I'm going to grab a resource, and we go to the Mythos phase. We put a doom on each of the three agendas, and we pull the top encounter card. We have Phoenix Knight with Martin Brooks says, you can do this. Phoenix Knight says, trivia fact, the plan of action is actually Trish's art from Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Oh, nice. David R says, what are these tokens? Phoenix Knight says, at least I think it is. Awesome. So, Ravages of War, each non-elite enemy moves and attacks as if it were the enemy phase. Enemies do not exhaust after attacking in this way. If no attacks are made as a result of this effect, Ravages of the Wild gains Surge. Well, these are all non-elite enemies, and they're going to move and attack as if it's the enemy phase. Now, this attack, even though it's not attacking me, yeah, they're going to attack each other, which is fine. Since an attack takes place, I don't have to worry about this surging. So we're going to play as like the enemy phase. So they're moving and attacking the enemy phase. The warring keyword is going to trigger. Don't like how this is. I don't like this. The space this is taking up. It's just, I feel like it's just getting a little bit too cluttered. So let me put that off the screen, and we'll do that. Now I have a pretty clear discard pile. All right, so green is going to move and attack like it's the enemy phase. So warring keyword triggers. They're going to go into Arkham. The blue is going to move and attack like the enemy phase, so warring keyword. The red's going to move and attack like the enemy phase, like it's the enemy phase, they move there. Now they're all aloof, so they don't engage with me, but they're warring, so they're still going to attack each other. Green is going to attack first. They're going to do 1 damage. They would do damage to the faction that has the least remaining health. They all have, both the red faction and the blue faction both have 1 health each. So green will go ahead and just attack. We'll have green attack blue because that's just going to be better for me. In the future, blue's going to go ahead and attack one of the two. Blue's going to go ahead and attack green. And then we'll have red's going to attack. Again, both of them have 1 health remaining. So red's going to defeat the blue. Since red defeated a enemy from another faction, red is going to get another doom on their agenda, and now the nihilistic stargazer is out of the game. All right, so that's again one of those mechanics where you like the fact that they're warring each other, but you don't want to do too much of that because it really adds up doom. And remember, if at any point if either of these are the only one left on the board, they're going to get an extra doom at the end of the round. So you want to make sure that one faction doesn't get too far ahead of the others because it could really throw things out of whack and will really reduce how much time you have left in this scenario. Oosh. So do I try to just kill both of them, which is one idea. Green would attack red, red would attack green, this enemy phase, and that would be bad because then red would get another doom. So I really do think I need to kill both of these guys. Sure. Unless I just do 1 damage to, nah, let me kill both of them. So I'm going to put out Switchblade for 1 resource. My first action, I'm going to attack green, and I'm attacking green with a 2, 3, 4, 5 to a 2. I just need to do 1 damage. Oh, they're aloof, so I have to be engaged. Ugh. Aloof, engaged. I only have one resource. Let me think about this. That's well. Delilah is interesting. Again, you can exhaust her and spend X resources. Choose an enemy at your location. Deal 1 damage to the chosen enemy. 2 damage instead of the enemy's exhausted. But the amount of resources I have to spend is the chosen enemy's evade value. So that's going to be rough. I think I do need to get this in. Engage, attack, attack. I'm pretty low on resources. And then green will be left alone, but that will make sure that red doesn't get another thing. That's probably my best option here. So I'm going to engage. I would actually, let me put Switchblade out. That makes sense. I could actually use the ornate bow. So I'm attacking with a, I mean, I could try to get lucky with my attack here, because I'm actually attacking a 5 to a 2, and if I succeed by 2 or more, I do 2 damage. And then I can have the ornate bow saved and not have to worry about that. That makes sense. Let's try to draw lucky. So I engage with my first action. Remember, Switchblade comes out fast. So my second action is this attack. I'm doing a 5 to a 2. If I pull a -1 or better, I will do 2 damage and the disciple will be out. I pulled a 0. Great. Switchblades 2 or more, it's +2 damage, it's +1 damage. So with my second action, I have defeated the Disciple of the Swarm. My third action, I'm gonna have to kill the Zealot of Paradise at some point. Sure. Third action, I could just draw a card. I'm worried I'm getting overzealous though, and that'd be a problem. Yeah, that's an insane. That's a very big. That's a big shroud value, man. I have no money, but that's fine. I'm going to just engage with the Zealot to save myself some actions next turn. We go to the enemy phase. Again, I have so much soak with damage. I have 8 and 3 here. So I'm going to take enemy phase. I'm going to add 1 damage to Delilah, because I can. We're going to go to the upkeep phase. I draw a card. It's Obfuscation. That's nice. And I take a resource. Gets me back to 1 resource. I really could use Lone Wolf. It just has not come out of my deck yet, unfortunately. At the end of the round, we add another Doom to green because they're the only faction left on the board. We're going to add a Doom to each of the 3 agendas. 1, 2, and 3. And now we pull the top encounter card. It is Feast of Locusts. Says 2 willpower. Increase the difficulty of the test by 1 for each swarm card in play. If you fail, take 2 horror. If you fail by 4 or more, instead take 3 horror. So I'm testing a 2 to a 2. I'm not going to go nuts to try to win this one. I mean, 2 horror is not great, but I don't think I have the cards to really help too much. I could make it a 4 to a 2. Let's do that. I'm going to try to make it a 4 to a... do I want to do that? Sure. I'm going to make it a 4 to a 2. And try to use Eureka, because there's definitely some cards I'd like to pull out of my deck here. So 4 to a 2. -4. I wasted 2 strong cards to get nothing. Awesome. So -4 is the worst. I get 2 horror anyway. Definitely should not have committed anything there. I'm going to add a horror to each Delilah and to Ellie. That's done. And now we go on to the rest of the phase. I'm going to use my Switchblade to attack the Zealot. I'm doing a 5 to a 3. My first action, I was just really hoping to trigger Eureka there to get Lone Wolf or something. I pulled the skull, -1 for each clue I have. I have 0, so I managed to kill the Zealot. Now, there are no cultists in play, which is good because I never actually read the agenda. Or the act, I should say. War of the Outer Gods, 3 zealous cults have emerged from the shadows, and their schemes are engulfing Earth in an all-out war. You must find out why the cults are fighting and put a stop to their battle. When any amount of doom is placed on a player card, place that amount of doom on any agenda as well. Investigators may only spend the requisite number of clues if no cultist enemies are in play. So there are no cultist enemies in play. Now, there are enemies that are not cultists, but right now we have no enemies that are in play at all. That was my first action. My second and third action, I think I just need to start getting to a place where I can get some clues. Let me head up here. So I'm going to go to the streets of Montreal. Founded in 1642 as Ville-Marie, or City of Mary, Montreal has a multitude of architectural styles, such as the Art Deco of the Université of Montreal and the Gothic revival of the historic Notre Dame Basilica. Yes, my French flair for all y'all to enjoy. Now, all the streets have a special action. It's a double action. You can deal 3 damage to a non-ancient one enemy at a Montreal location in any group. New York City has a corresponding action that would be for a New York City location, and Providence, obviously, for a Providence location. It is a Shroud value 4 and a Clue value of a 1. Oh, you know what I could have taken with my last XP, which I probably should have, is I could have taken the. I think I actually already have a lockpicks in there, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see. And then with my third action, I'm going to move to Chateau Ramezay. Built in 1705 as an illustrious residence, Chateau Ramezay is a museum containing numerous works of art that are a portal to Montreal's past. Strat value 2, clue value 1. I can do an agility, a willpower test of a 4. If I succeed, I gain 1 clue from the token pool. Ding, that will work. End of my turn. Enemy phase. There are no enemy phase. Are no enemies. Upkeep phase. I draw a card. We have the pocket telescope. Don't mind that. And we'll take a resource that gets me up to 2. Meet those phase. Adding a doom to all 3 agendas. So 4 on agenda green. Green agenda, I should say. 3 on the blue agenda and 4 on the red agenda. All right. Mechanics make my brain hurt. Ouch. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And now we draw an encounter card. Hopefully this will not go as bad as the last one. We have ourselves a cultist. And it's going to be the last one on the board. And I don't like that because he is all the way down there. And that's going to be a problem. Yikes. That doesn't make me happy, kids. I don't have the actions to get there. 1, 2, 3. Oh, none of that's good. None of that is good. I do need to wipe him out. Sure. Because he's a 3 fight. Otherwise, blue is just going to get absolutely loaded up. I mean, I could get lucky and pull an enemy for another faction, next turn. Yeah, let me try to get a clue because I need to start getting clues so I can start moving towards getting through this act a little bit. So I'm going to do a 4 to a 2. 4 to a 2, -1. That succeeds. I get a clue. I'm going to move, and then this is connected to that, so I'm going to move from Chateau Ramezay to the Shrine of Megan Arcot. The followers of Megan Arcot have cradled the insidious egg even as it outgrew the shrine. They believe the hatching of the egg will bring eternal paradise, but its translucency betrays that delusion. Shroud value 3, clue value 1. I can do as a fast action, draw the top card on the encounter deck and place 1 ward on the green agenda. Group limit once per round. So what does that mean? Wards basically will prevent the next incidence of a doom being placed. So it's really, really nice. So if I put a ward on the green agenda, instead of when I would place doom, 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 instead I would place, doom, no, the ward comes off, then doom, doom. I think that makes some sense. I'm trying to get another enemy out here so this die doesn't start triggering once around because the actions is going to take to get down there are pretty extreme. So I have 1, so I investigated and I moved. I still have 1 action left. This is a fast action. I'm drawing the top encounter card. Nice. Aloof, Warring, Shrine of Megan Arcot. That's perfect. So that's going to prevent him from getting a doom because there will be enemies from both factions on the board. So I have 1 more action. I could try to investigate a 4 to a 3. Sneak attack is interesting. It's also I'm kind of money poor right now. And I'm pretty set up for combat. So let me just use sneak attack for the intellect icon. So I'm doing a 5 to a 3 to try to get that clue so then I can come back to the rest of the board and not have to worry about getting clues up there. Again, the easiest clues for me to get are going to be the extremities of this board. Bam, I got it. I pulled a 0. So again, the only time I pulled really bad was when I committed 2 very strong cards, which makes me feel a certain way. But now I have 2 clues. But again, the problem now is I still have I have 2 cultists on the board, which is going to make this a wee bit harder. That is the end of the investigation phase. The enemy phase. The green enemies are going to move. The warring enemy moves. The blue warring enemy moves. Upkeep phase, I draw a card. It is manual dexterity. I take a resource that gives me up to 3. And now we go to the Mythos phase. 5th Doom on the green agenda, 4th Doom on the blue agenda, 5th Doom on the red agenda. Top encounter card, what is it? It is Hellfire. Revelation, test agility 4. If you fail, either take 2 damage or place 2 of your clues on your location. If you fail by 4 or more and have 4 clues, if you fail and have 4 or more clues, you have to do both. 2 damage wouldn't be awful for me. I'm testing a 4 plus the 1 from Delilah. I'm testing a 5 to a 4. I'm not going to waste manual dexterity on this. So 5 to a 4. Oh! I pulled the tentacles. Alright, I take 2 damage because I'm not placing my clues on my location. So Delilah will be maxed out at her capacity of damage she can take, which is a little dangerous with how this scenario plays out, but I'm going to live a little bit dangerously here, and I'm going to put a damage on Trish. Done. Pulling really good on these cards. I'm going to... Oh, I did, and my bad, I forgot to place the ward, so that would have been a ward, so there would not have been a 5th Doom on the green agenda. The ward would have just come off instead. So that's fine. I don't know if it makes sense to ward there again. And the encounter cards are obviously not going great for me. I'm going to move 1 to the streets of Montreal, 2 to Arkham. 3, I'm going to put obfuscation into play. That's fast, actually, so that's not even 3. That comes into play with 3 charges. I have some of my arcane charges over here. Again, when an enemy makes an attack of opportunity, I can spend a charge to cancel that attack. And then I think the best thing to do is to grab another resource. Man, I need another clue. I can't advance this agenda till both of these dudes are dead, so that's all sorts of fun. So I could actually use Delilah, though, to wipe one of them out next turn, so that'll be fine. So let me grab another resource. I think that'll be the best use of my action here. We go to the enemy phase. Green moves down. Blue moves to Arkham. Blue moves into Arkham. Green attacks blue for a damage. Blue attacks green for a damage. I'm going to draw we go to the upkeep phase. I draw a card. It is, watch this. I take a resource that gets me up to 3. Mythos phase. I add a Doom on each agenda, so that's a 5th Doom on green, the 5th Doom on blue, the 6th Doom on red. Green doesn't advance, blue doesn't advance, but red advances. How does that work? Well, stay tuned. Proliferation of the swarm advances. Black clouds descend on the cities of Earth, but they are not storm clouds. They are the soaring masses of Azel, swarms of monstrous insects that fill the sky and the streets with incessant buzzing. The droning of the hive is constant and an ever-present reminder of what might come if you fail to stop them. If you are playing a standalone mode, add 1 Elder Thing to the bag. Oops, I missed. Ding, there. Shuffle 3 of the 4 set-aside Trilagog enemies, the 2 Transmogrified Treacheries, and the Encounter discard pile into the Encounter deck. So those are all these red cards that we set aside. So I have 3 of the 4 Trilagog enemies, and those. If this is the first agenda to advance, spawn the remaining set-aside Trilagog enemy. That enemy gains an additional 2 swarming. So this one is gonna spawn here because the spawn instruction is the Burning Pit. These 5 cards and this whole discard pile go into the encounter deck. Try to space them out a little bit. And now we have to talk about swarming. So, Trilagog. Swarming 2, warring. It goes into the burning pit. Force when the Trilagog attacks, and it deals either its damage or its horror instead of both. The irritating, incessant buzzing of the swarm can be heard from miles away. Normally, it has a swarming 2. That means when it comes into play, I put 2 of my cards underneath it as replicas of Trilagog. Now, normally when a warring enemy defeats another warring enemy, you add a doom to that corresponding agenda for the enemy that actually does the defeating. That does not count for the copies. So swarming, you still have to defeat the host before the before the enemy that's doing the attack would get another doom on the corresponding agenda. But we're going to do the swarming mechanic, so we're going to add 2, and then because of swarming 2, and then because of this, we have an additional swarm 2, so we're going to have 4 total here. Now, how swarming enemies work. So there's a stack of 4 under this. How swarming enemies work is you cannot attack the host until you defeat the rest of the swarm. If you have leftover damage, you can roll that over to the rest of the enemies in the swarm. This dude is not aloof, and then when they attacked me, they would all attack me separately, right? So that's 5 attacks of opportunity if I was in the same location, because again, they would engage with me immediately. So when I engage with them, I'm going to be ready to want to knock them down to size for sure. As per their instructions, though, they're not doing a damage and a horror reach, they're doing a damage or a horror reach, but still, that's going to be a problem that we're going to need to find a way to deal with. And again, those cards, when you defeat cards from the swarm, they just go on the bottom of my deck. I don't know what they are. I mean, I have some idea because I know what's left on my deck. They could be weaknesses. They could be cards I really am looking for, but we will find out. I do draw on a counter card because we're finishing off the Mythos phase. Death and Decay. You must decide. Place 1 Doom on the blue agenda. You and each asset you control take 1 direct damage. Obviously, cannot do that. Choose an item asset you control and remove it from the game. Well, we're just going to put another Doom on the blue agenda. Oh boy. I'm in trouble, I think. Well, yeah, I think this is worth it. I'm going to engage the Zealot of Paradise. Oh no, but then that's the only one that's going to be left. Oh, that's bad. These guys want to move if there's... If I only kill one of them... Tax him. Yeah, I'm worried the red's going to be the only one left standing, and that's going to put a ton of doom on red. 3, 4, 5. I think I have to go deal with that red. I'll let blue and green still fight this out. Still missing a clue. I can get red down to 1. Alright, first action, I'm going to move into the streets of New York. Shroud value 4, clue value 1. The streets of New York says... Boosted by the unprecedented prosperity of the roaring 20s, New York City is in the midst of a building boom. As towers grow ever taller, skyscrapers are topping one another in rapid succession. The Woolworth building was surpassed by the Chrysler building, which will soon be eclipsed by the Empire State Building. Again, then we have the double action there. It's a victory point. That's my first action. Second action, I'm moving into here, the burning pit. Deep beneath the bustling streets of New York City lies a decrepit place of worship for the outer god Ezel Sandrazel. The fanatical cultists wear enchanted skulls and have but one belief: the only path to eternity is through assimilation. Shroud value 3, clue value 1. So these dudes engage with me immediately. I'm going to go ahead and attack them with the Ornate Bow. That's going to give me a 7 to a 3. I'm going to commit Watts this, and I'm really going all in here. If I 7 to a 3, that would give me 8 to a 3. As long as I win by at least 1, I'm going to double my money, which could come in handy because I still have backstab and stuff. So this would be for 3 damage. Best not pull the tentacles, because if I do, I should just go ahead and restart. Yoink! Oh, I lose -2, so I do succeed by 1 or more. So I double my money with What's This. Again, commit only to a skill test you're performing. As an additional cost to commit What's This, you can spend up to 3 resources. If you succeed by 1 or more, gain twice that many resources back. Great. I did 3 damage to Trilagog, so that's going to knock them down to 1 swarming card. And then I'm going to go ahead and exhaust Delilah. I'm going to spend X resources. X is the evade value, which is 1, and that's going to get me down to 5 resources. And I do 1 damage to the Trilagog. Now, if I had been able to have the enough turns to evade Trilagog, then I would be able to do 2 damage instead, but obviously it's not evaded. Now, if I discovered a clue, it would have been evaded, but that's something I might try next turn. Note that when you evade the host, you evade the entire swarm, in that they would all be exhausted. So all my investigator cards are back at the bottom of my deck, and now we go to the invader phase. The green and the blue are not going to move because they're already at a location that has a warring enemy of another faction. The red's not going to move because it's engaged with me. Green's going to do 1 damage to blue. Blue is defeated. That's going to put another doom on green. So they basically caught up with the red faction. Blue is dead. Red is going to go ahead and attack me like normal. I'm going to get either a damage or a horror. I'll go ahead and take a damage. Again, it doesn't give me both. It gives me one of the attacks. We now go to the upkeep phase. I'm going to ready Delilah or Rourke. I grab a card. It is in the shadows, and I get a resource. Gets me back to 6. Mythos phase. I add a doom to all 3 agendas. So 7, 7, and 1. 7, 7, and 1. Why is there only 6 on blue? Did I run so wrong? Yeah, there should be. I think I added 1 to green instead of blue last turn. Yeah, I added it to green. It had to add it to green. Nothing made sense. I'll check it later, but I'm pretty. There's no way I would have 8 on green. Green got 1 because it just defeated blue, but blue had the extra 1 from decay, and there's no way green was 2 ahead of blue. So I'm taking the 6 off of green. Green is going to advance. I had this hard, guys. Counting to 6. Can Greg count to 6? Remember, the remainder is going to go on to Agenda 2. The same thing's going to happen for blue. So now all 3 factions have 1 doom on Agenda 2. Let me read the backside of Agenda 2 for green, and then actually I read the front sides. I'm sorry, the backside of Agenda 1 for green. I'll read the front sides of all 3 agendas in a second. Deep within the walls of its sacred shrine, Arkat, the egg of paradise, begins to stir. For the first time in the history of the earth, a shape can be seen on the outer side of the egg's scale translucent surface, an embryo, tough word, moiling and writhing as its hideous alien body develops. If you're playing a standalone mode, add a skull, or a cultist. It's like a skull, it's just different. Shuffle the 2 set aside, bringer of paradise enemies, the 3 hunted down treacheries, and the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. So, bringer of paradise, hunted down, and encounter discard pile. So I'm not going to shuffle all that in yet because I still have something else to do. Oh man, I need to get rid of that cultist. I need to get another. Lots of problems here. I might just go ahead and evade that dude, keep it around so green doesn't get another doom. Then I can kill that next turn and hopefully finally advance this agenda because I'm way behind on that. This is not the first agenda to advance, so I ignore the rest of this. That comes out of play. Now the blue agenda, the temperature plummets by 20, 40, 60 degrees. The cold is bizarre, not only for the first time a year, but also for the way in which it digs into your body, like needles piercing your skin. In the sky, the clouds unfurl into uncanny winged shapes, beasts with gaping mouths and serrated teeth, all of them circling like vultures, waiting for the right moment to descend and feed. If you're playing in standalone mode, add a tablet, shuffle the 2 ethereal entity enemies, 3 inevitable end treacheries, and the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. It is not the first agenda, so we can ignore all of that. Not the first agenda to advance, is what I meant there. Agenda 2s. So again, lots of cards I want to make sure are somewhat evenly dispersed and thoroughly shuffled in here. So that should do. We have the incubation process, which is agenda 2 for the green. Cult, from each drop of embryonic liquid that rolls off the egg surface, horrible creatures gestate, agents of paradise, or so the cult of Ricard believes. The agenda has a global doom threshold of 6, and the same instructions, the same forced doom will carry over. And there's an epic multiplayer mode thing, but obviously we're not playing an epic multiplayer mode, so we can go ahead and ignore that. Obviously our encounter deck here has gotten quite large. So lots more variety of things that we could see here. This will go there. We have the summoning progresses. The Cult of the Empty Sky predicted these events many years ago. Now they will live out the ending that they have long foreknown. Same general instructions. And then the proliferation progresses. For the Cult of Assimilation, the appearance of the swarm is the heralding of a new era, rebirth of sorts into a higher form, unascendance. Alright, I have to grab an encounter card. It is the Bringer of Paradise. Aloof, retaliate, warring. The Shrine of Megan Arcot is where it spawns at the end of the round. Place 1 resource of the Bringer of Paradise as a mutation. Then if there are 3 more mutations on it, remove 2 of them and place 2 Doom on the green agenda. Blah. He is warring. He's also aloof, and I'm also going to need to kill him. Need to get my ornate bow ready to do that, and I still need to get a clue. So I'm going to investigate. I'm doing a 4 to a 3. Oosh. Which isn't great. In the Shadows is pretty strong, but my evade's pretty good. Do not want to kill the red enemy because I don't want green to start getting loaded up with Doom. So I'm going to play In the Shadows for the 2 wild icons. That gives me a 6 to a 3 for the shroud value. There would be an attack of opportunities from the Trilogue. I'm going to use my obfuscation to ignore that. So that's done. 6 to a 3 to try to get this clue. There are a ton more tokens in here now. Well, I guess 1 for each cult. -1, I succeed. I get this clue, and additionally, since the enemy is here, I can use Trish's special ability to just evade the Trilogue. Now, I could exhaust Delilah to kill the Trilogue. I don't want to do that. My second action, I'm moving to the streets of New York. My third action, I'm moving to Arkham. I'm now going to exhaust Trish. I'm going to spend resources equal to the evade value of the Zealot, which is nuts, but I have to get this thing done. So I'm spending those 3 resources to do 1 damage to the Zealot. The Zealot's now defeated. And now I can go ahead and spend these 3 clues because there are no cultist enemies on the board, and I can advance the act. Alright, so that was a pretty expensive round, right? I used a really strong card, I used 3 resources, but I have to get this thing done. I'm running out of time to get one of the paths of victory here. So we'll see how this plays out. The astronomer's notes weigh heavily in your weary hands. Nothing in any science or any religion for that matter can explain this phenomenon. Yeah, well, investigators may only spend the requisite number of clues if no cultist enemies are in play, and that's what I did. Great. The preface reads, the notes then go on to describe a pocket within the void of space itself, a hole inside which another world can be seen. I know my observations will be dismissed as madness, but I have seen it with my own 2 eyes, a nexus linking this world with others. Crazy as it all sounds, this discovery connects all of the dots in your investigation. Each of the cultists you've interrogated mentioned some kind of hub, the opening of which will spell the inevitable end of all things, paradise on earth, or assimilation into the hive, depending on whom you are interrogating. The place described by this astronomer must be this hub. You still do not understand precisely what is going on, but at least now you know what you have to do. If opening this hub is the goal of this war, yours must be to seal the hub so that it may never be opened. But to set aside hub dimension location at the play, unsealed side face up. Great. Where are you, hub? Unsealed side. While there are 6 Per investigator clues around the hub dimension, your group has sealed off the hub dimension, a vast network of cosmic tunnels where gravity is warped in a surreal web of astral dimensions. So I'm going to put the hub dimension over here, and now we'll read Act 2. What is this nonsense about clues being placed around the hub dimension? Close the portal. Sealed off the hub dimension I'm sorry, seal off the hub dimension before it is too late. If you were in a ritual site, you try to seal off the portal. Place one of your clues around the hub dimension. Then you may test 2 willpower or 2 intellect. If you succeed, place one of your clues around the hub dimension. So if I can get 2 clues and I can get to one of the ritual sites, so we're going to ritual site here, ritual site here, ritual site here, I can test 2. I would do intellect, obviously, not willpower. And if I succeed, I can get 2 clues around there. If I ever get 6 clues around there, I have sealed off the hub dimension. And then obviously objective, if your group has sealed off the hub dimension, you can advance. Forced, when any amount of doom is placed on a player card, place that amount of doom on the agenda as well. So basically really neuters blood right in this scenario. There's like not much you can do there. The question is, can I actually get 6 clues? Like I didn't get my lockpicks out or anything like that, but can I get 6 clues and get to the ritual sites to do that test 3 times and succeed all 3 times to get 6 clues around there quick enough to make that work? We shall see. I feel mildly hopeful, but not really. I don't feel great about these odds, not gonna lie. So we go to the enemy phase. The green enemy is gonna move toward this guy because they're both warring. The red enemy is exhausted, so he doesn't move. Upkeep phase, I'm going to ready Delilah. I'm going to grab an encounter card. It is Inquiring Mind. Don't mind that. And I don't mind that. Ha ha ha. Punny, I'm so punny. And then I take a resource. Mythos phase. We're going to add a doom on all 3 of these agendas. 1, 2, and 3. Alright. And then at the end of the round, we have to place a resource on the Bringer of Paradise. Remember, if we get 2 more in there, we place 2 Doom in the green agenda, and that could really accelerate things in a way that I don't love. Counter card, what do we get? It is Death and Decay. I must place 1 Doom on the blue agenda. Discard an item asset I control, which I do not have any. I really wish I had the Pocket Telescope out for that. I will place a Doom on the blue agenda because, you know, it's just the thing to do. Great. So I am going to knock my Ornate Bow. That Bringer of Paradise is aloof because he's super annoying. I'm going to try to kill him next turn before he creates too many problems with me. I'm going to put the Pocket Telescope in play, exhaust Pocket Telescope to look at the revealed side of a connecting unrevealed location. It allows me to investigate a revealed location as if I were there, which can be pretty strong. That's going to cost me 2, so I'm down to 2 resources. And then I'm going to use Inquiring Mind to give me a 7 to a 5 to try to get that clue on Arkham, which isn't the greatest odds. Oh, Trilagog would have readied. I don't love the 7 to a 5, but +2 is going to have to be enough for some of these tests. Woo! Elder Sign. +2, if there's an investigation, you may choose any revealed location you are now investigating as if it was... Ooh, okay. Let me say this slower. So the Elder Sign effect, it's pretty niche with Trish, so it doesn't often matter. But if this is an investigation, you may choose any revealed location you are now investigating as if you were at the location instead. I will take the one off Arkham. It is going to be the best one for me just to grab a clue off of, and that's fine. I do wish I had Lone Wolf because I would be taking serious advantage of spending the 1 resource and just moving to a connecting location more than I've been able to, but that is fine. Enemy phase, the green enemy is going to move toward the red enemy. The red enemy is going to move toward the green enemy because he is warring. He does not have Hunter, so they would not be moving if it were not for the warring ability. Upkeep phase, I draw on a counter card. Intel report is nice. And I take a resource. That gets me up to 3. Mythos phase, 1 Doom on all 3 of these agendas. So 3 on green, 4 on blue, and 3 on red. Top and counter card. Man, the blue and counter cards are strong. I must decide, place 1 Doom on the blue agenda. Choose 3 cards in your hand to remove them from the game. Remove the top 6 cards of your deck from the game. Shuffle each weakness. Remove this way from your deck. I hate that. Do I really want to put another Doom on the blue agenda? I can ward it, which I don't hate. Can I get there in time though? Oh, there should be another resource on this dude. So I'm gonna have to engage and kill him. Blue agenda advances. Don't like losing intel report. I don't think I have a choice. So I'm going to choose 3 cards on my hand and remove them from the game. I only have 2, but at least I'm changing the game state, so it's a totally legit option. I don't. It's weird as like 3 from your hand or that's 6 from the top of your deck. The problem is, again, I have 2 weaknesses, 3 weaknesses still in here that I haven't seen. So the chance if I try to move your 6, those weaknesses are coming back in. I really don't want to thin my deck like that. Still have working a hunch. Yikes. Alright, removing manual dexterity and intel report from the game. That is done. So I'm engaging the Bringer of Paradise. He does have retaliate, so this best go well for me. I'm attacking with the ornate bow. I'm attacking with a 4, 5, 6, 7 to a 3 to do 3 damage. This is my second action. It's the cultist -3. I did not fail, so we're good there. I've done 3 damage to the Bringer of Paradise. It is totally dead skis. Good. I have one more action. Let me start going over here so I can try to find places with more clues. The Pentest still has a clue that I never grabbed. I could just kill the Trilagog. I know the Penthouse is going to be an easier threshold. Could kill it with a Delilah action is what I'm saying. Yeah, let me get to the Streets of Providence. Hopefully get these 2 clues. Get some warding there. I need 5 more clues. 1, 2, 3. I don't have great ways to get 6 clues. That's going to be my biggest problem, I think. So we go to the Streets of Providence. Streets with cave doorways or carved doorways where the sunset beams flooded old fanlights and small windowless panes, or window panes, and Georgian steeples topped with gilded vanes. These are the sights that shaped my childhood dreams. Streets of Providence. It has the standard deal 3 damage to a non-ancient 1 enemy at a Providence location. It's a shroud value of 4, a clue value of 1. Then those deal 3 damage abilities are limited once per group per game. So that's something to keep in mind. You want to basically conserve those for sure. We go to the enemy phase. There are no other warring enemies in play. This Trilagog does not have Hunter, so he's going to chill there. Upkeep phase, I draw a card. It is Leo. I take a resource. That gets me up to 4. I think Leo is probably going to be more important than Delilah at this point, especially if I'm trying to knock this bow. Do wish I was able to get Lone Wolf out earlier. This did not happen. We go to the Mythos phase. 4th Doom on the green agenda, 5th Doom on the blue agenda, and 4th Doom on the red agenda. Offer says, Red Dude, unexhausted at upkeep. Hello, all glad to be here. Rock on, and thank you, Afur. I think I got that. Could be. It's been a little bit since I looked at the chat here. Mike, have you tried any of the epic multiplayer modes? Yeah, I like it in Blob. I'd like it. I mean, I did a epic multiplayer thing with Machinations Through Time. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's a better scenario. I did it with this once. It was a long time ago. There was only like 2 of us. Labyrinth of Lunacy is interesting. I mean, it's not the strongest of scenarios. So, you know, it is what it is. They definitely built for like events and the Arkham Knights or Knights over Arkham, whatever they have, and I kind of get that. I do wish they would just go back to like some more the Carnival and Rougarou style and less of these epic stuff because like there's just more replayability when I don't have to worry about having the epic stuff going on. So I'm going to draw my encounter card. It is another Trilagog. So it spawns in the Burning Pit. 2 cards go under it. Hopefully it's 2 of my weaknesses because I have not seen any of them yet, which is very lucky. And that sucker will just chill there. It's going to make getting back to that Burning Pit a little bit harder for sure. All right, let me go to the arcade as the nation's first indoor mall. Elegant arcade. The elegant arcade and its Greek revival columns and granite walls have been a fixture of Providence since 1828. Strat value 2, clue value 1. Now there is a test for, this could be actually probably the best way for me to get clues here. If we're doing a 5 to a 4, I could do a 5 to a 4. If I succeed, I gain 1 clue from the token pool. But remember, now that I have all these cultists and cultists and tablets and elder signs in the bag, oh my, there's definitely a lot more penalties for failing than is ideal. Use a pocket telescope to investigate here while I'm there. Yeah, that probably makes some sense. Thinking about getting Leo into play. I'll just wait the next round. Kind of, well, lots of competing interest for me right now. So my first action was to move. My second action is I'm investigating a 4 to a 2. Plus 2's been working for me. Please continue. -2. Awesome. So I get this clue. It's my second action. My third action is I'm moving here. It's the Athenium of the empty sky. The telescopes and astrolabes of the cult of Silenus manifest their reverence of the night sky. The darkness and emptiness of the vast universe mirror their faith that all life must end. Strat value 3, clue value 1. I'm going to do this thing, draw the top card in the encounter deck, rule limit once per round. I'm going to do a ward on the blue deck, the blue agenda. Top card, don't be something that's going to be awful to me. Each non-elite enemy moves and attacks as if it were the enemy phase. They don't move or attack. Enemies do not exhaust after attacking this way. If no attacks are made as a result of the effect, it gains surge, so that surge does count. And then we get another Trilagog who spawns here. 2 more cards off the top of my deck. Lots of Trilagogs in play. Fine. So we put the ward. So I moved, I investigated, I moved, I did that, which is a free action, which is totally cool. And now I can try to get these 2 clues around the hub dimension next turn. And I have delayed any of these agendas advancing for 1 more round, which I feel pretty good about. We go to the enemy phase. None of those guys move. Upkeep phase, draw a card. It is the moon. The tower card comes into play. The problem with the tower cards, like the downside, if you get them in your starting hand, it's great. Boom, they go into play, saves you 3 resources, you get that plus. If you don't, however, there's no icons. Like there's no upside unless you want to spend the 3 resources. But again, I'm not really strong on resources right now. And I want to get Leo out. I really wish I had Lone Wolf. But again, that +1 agility, if that got me a base of a 6 agility, that could be nice. But I'm probably replacing Delilah with Leo. So you know, I'm kind of in this, not in an ideal position there. But we get a resource. That gives me my 5th resource. We go to the encounter, the Mythos phase. I'm placing a Doom on green, taking the ward off blue, placing a Doom on red. I mean, that's my best chance on passing that test with any kind of regularity, which isn't great. We draw a counter card. What is it? Another red. Spawns in the burning pit. At the end of the round, if no blue or green enemies are in play, place a Doom on the red agenda. So that's a problem. Do need to get another colored enemy out. Wow, red got super strong. Where's Dynamite Blast when you need it? That's not good. Yikes, that's really not good. Another Doom. Really don't want to run through red too quick. Looks like I'm passing. I'm going to advance both. Oh, looks like I'm advancing all 3. I could delay blue again. Let me do this test. I'm in the ritual site, so I'm going to spend an action to place one of my clues around the hub dimension. And now I'm going to test intellect 4 to try to do a second one. +2's been working. No! I failed. Place 1 card I committed to this test face down under an insect enemy as a swarm card. I was not I did not commit any cards. I'm going to, since I failed the test, I'm going to have to spend another action to put another thing around the hub dimension. This all seems like a fool's errand right now. Still think it's worth the shot. So that goes there. Oh, I don't actually, let me not do that because then I can't even have the upside of potentially doing two at once. So it's my second action now. I'm going to do this fast thing. I'm going to draw the top card of the counter deck. Please be a blue or a green enemy. There we go. Bringer of Paradise spawns there. That's nice. And now I get a ward on the blue deck. So I have two more actions. Remember, that was fast. I think I go ahead and put Leo in play. Or I put the moon in play and I investigate. I come over here and I start doing that test, try to get another clue that way. That red is a disaster. My second action is I will move here. My third action, I will go ahead and put the moon in play. And Leo's like, do you forget how awesome I am? And I'm like, no, I just trying to get more agility. Because, yeah, if I can do a 6 to a 4, get some more clues out of here, and just kind of come back here and try to keep warding, I think the easiest place for me to get 6 clues is going to be here going back and forth with the cards that I have access to right now. Enemy phase. The green faction enemy is going to move here. The red faction enemy is going to move here. Upkeep phase, I draw a card. It is working a hunch. Like to see that. I get a resource. Yeah, I'm like never going to afford Leo at this point. Mythos ended a round. This gets a resource. Mythos phase. 6 doom on green. Ward comes off blue. 6 doom on red. We check to see what advances. Green is going to advance first. The crack appears on the surface of our cot. The caretakers of the egg genuflect, submitting themselves in reverence to the entity hatching within. The crack grows, widening up and down our cot's sealed surface. Effervescent green slime bubbles from the fissure and spills onto the shrine's altar. Makan, Makan, Magan, the devotees rejoice. Paradise is upon us. If you are playing in standalone mode, add another cultist. The horrific Shoggoth enemy is set if the horrific Shoggoth enemy is set aside, shuffle it into the encounter deck. So we have to get the green cards. The horrific Shoggoth enemy is now shuffled into the deck. Put that there. We do not shuffle the discard pile at this point in the game. This is the first agenda to advance to 2B. Spawn the set-aside Vile Broodmaster enemy at the Shrine of Megan Arcot. Vile Broodmaster, Hunter retaliate against +1 health for each mutation on it. When one or more mutations will be placed on an enemy, place one additional mutation on that enemy. That's a problem because he's going to get 2 now. And I don't know if I'm set up to deal with that at all. But is what it is. So we now also advance the red agenda. Emerging from within the burning pit that joins the nexus, the matriarch of Azel joins the hive. The clouds grow darker and denser as the form of the swarm's master begins to coalesce. Oh wait. Those have warring. Since they have warring, they would have also moved. My bad. My bad. I'm forgetting. They don't have a loop, but they have warring, so they should have both. Everything would have moved because he had only been out for that round. Because again, I got him out when I did the ward for the blue. So now all these dudes are all moving, and they're gonna have a big epic war, which is actually good because they're gonna take him down, which I definitely need to happen. All right, now that I've figured that out. Soon all the assimilated hive coalesce. Soon all will be assimilated into the hive. We're going to add a elder thing to the bag. If a copy of Trilagog is set aside, shuffle it into the encounter deck. There are none set aside. If this is the first agenda to advance to 2B, spawn the set aside drowning horde enemy at the burning pit. This is not the first to advance to 2B. So everything's advanced. We have Eric says things look to be spiraling out of control. Yeah. It's about right. Yeah, I don't know. I've had trouble. This is a bad build for this scenario. Like I kind of knew that. I did a couple of practice runs last night, and I just was like, again, I draft my decks, and sometimes it's a little wonky. I do feel I'm like in an interesting spot if I can make this mechanic work. I do have a small outside chance of sealing off this hub dimension. The other reality, though, is the fact that there's so many warring red could really help me minimize what's going on with green. Remember, the Vile Broodmaster does not have warring, so he will not participate in this nonsense, but he will hunt me down. And if for every mutation on him, he gets +1 health. So that's something to be aware of for sure. All right, we have this. We draw on a counter card because we just advanced 2 agendas. While they sleep, for each faction that has most enemies in play, place 1 Doom on that faction's agenda. If no enemies are in play, place no Doom, and while they sleep, gain Surge. So the most enemies in play is red. We place a Doom on the red agenda 3A. Fantastic. My turn. I'm going to test this 6 to a 4 to try to get a clue. I have 1 clue. I have Working Hunch will give me another clue. I can probably investigate that for a clue. So I would, if I succeed at this twice, that really gives me a lot to work with. Yeah, because I just need 5 more clues. I have 1, 2, 3 accounted for between Working Hunch, the ability to investigate. So hopefully I can pull this off once with the moon. 6 to a 4, -1. So I succeeded. I gain a clue from the token pool. I'm going to cock the Ornate Bow. And I'm going to do it again. I want the Ornate Bow readied, obviously. 6 to a 4 again to get another clue, and then I'll have all 5 clues accounted for, and it's a matter of trying to get them on the hub dimension in time before this all turns to crap. The blue agenda will be advancing again. There's not much I can do to that. 6 to a 4, -1 again. A couple of lucky draws there. So those are my 3 actions. Now, obviously, having 3 clues means that skulls are now -3, because it's -1 for each clue you have. I wonder what the other side of this is. And probably it's like -2 for each clue you have. That's freaking garbage. All right, enemy phase. The green enemy moves. Oh, right. So he just came out, so we're good. I'm just making sure I didn't skip a step. So green enemy moves. Red enemies all move. Arkham is now super crowded. The green faction enemy is going to do 1 damage. Now, when they do damage and horror, now remember the Trilogogs are damage or horror, so that's not a big deal. But when they do damage and horror, they're going to do horror becomes damage for the purpose of warring. So we're going to defeat this Trilogog because this is the thing with the fewest health left. Since green faction defeated another enemy from a different faction, they get a Doom. And now these Trilogogs and this Disciple of the Swarm, plus this Hunter keyword should trigger as well. Before I forget that, they're doing a combined 7 damage to the Bringer of Paradise. So the Bringer of Paradise is dead, and then red gets another Doom. Done. Out. So we don't have to worry about mutations for the Bringer of Paradise anymore. But now Arkham is very loaded with red enemies. We go to the upkeep phase. I draw a card. We have Elusive. I get a resource that gets me up to 4. We go to the Mythos phase. Doom. 2nd Doom on green. 6th Doom on blue. 3rd Doom on red. 6th Doom come off blue. What do we get? If the hewn mist disperse, strange constellations twinkle beyond the void of space. You are filled with the curious feeling that you are being watched by thousands upon thousands of eyes that you cannot see. On the other side of the nexus, the event predicted by the astronomers, a nihilist approaches. The end of life, the end even of all endings. We have to add a tablet. See a pattern there. And then if the hewn stitched herald enemy is set aside, shuffle it into the encountered deck. So we're going to go over here. We're going to find the hewn stitched herald. This gets shuffled into here. So by interesting spot, you mean you're completely screwed. Got it. I mean, am I completely? I feel like I've been more screwed in other games, but I don't know. It depends. If I can do these tests, I mean, I have 3 clues. This is a 4th clue. If I do that test one more time, I'll have 5 clues, and then it's a matter of, if I can get them on the hub dimension quick enough before the red agenda advances. The fact that the Vile Broodmaster's in play will prevent the red from getting their will prevent the red from getting Doom in double time because there will be another faction's enemies out there. Top encounter card, it is Hellfire. This went really well for me last time, so I'm testing a 6 to a 4. If I fail, I take 2 damage. And we get a tablet. That's not good. At -3, I failed. I draw the top card in the encounter discard pile, and I take 2 damage. I should have committed elusive, but I'll take 2 damage here. And since I failed, I draw the top hex in the encounter discard pile. That's an omen. That's a terror. Inevitable end. I must decide. I'll place 1 doom on the agenda. Fine. That works. And all of this goes out. 2 damage. Doom on the blue agenda. Blue's lagging behind the others anyway, so that's not a big deal. Oh. Move. Sure. I'm going to test a 6 to a 4, try to get another clue, and then to start putting these puppies on the agenda. I could do a 7 to a 4 because I'm not using elusive for anything anyway. So 7 to a 4 because I'm adding the intellect, the agility icon from elusive. -1, so I get another clue from the token pool. I'm going to move into the Athenium of the Empty Sky, and now I'm going to put 1 around the hub dimension. I'm testing a 4 to a 2. I mean, do I want to? Probably not playing Leo, so I could just throw him out. I just don't have the action economy, I don't think, to make Leo work. Yeah, we'll do that. So I'm throwing Leo in there. So 5 to a 2. I hate doing that. I could grab Leo back next turn. Now I'll just do a 4 to a 2. I think that makes the most sense. 4 to a 2. 0. Nice. So I get to add another clue around the hub dimension. So we're up to 3. We go to the enemy phase. The Vile Broodmaster is Hunter keyword. He doesn't have Warring though, so they don't do any damage to each other. And then we go to the upkeep phase. I draw a card. It is Scout Ahead. That could be helpful. And we take a resource. So Leo is definitely an option to consider putting in play, but I'm still low on resources, and I am going to want to play Working a Hunch, so probably not going to happen. Mythos phase, 3rd Doom, 2nd Doom, 4th Doom. Encounter card, Hellfire again. I'm testing a 6 to a 4. I'm going to make it an 8 to a 4 because I have the agility icons with Scout Ahead. 8 to a 4, -4. I succeeded. If I had failed, well, this would have just become another swarm card. Who cares? So that's fine. But don't take the 2 damage, which is pretty clutch. I'm going to, kind of theory, make this work this round. Yeah, I'm going to do a clue around the hub dimension. Although I forget what the 3rd agenda is. I haven't actually played this. I haven't played this in a while. It's been a long time. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to test a 4 to a 2. I'm really reluctant to throw Leo in there, so I won't. But 4 to a 2, -1. We get another clue on there. My second action, I'm going to spend 2 resources to Working a Hunt to get this clue. And then that's a fast action, so that doesn't count as my action. So my real second action is I put the 6th ward around the hub dimension. While there are 6 or more clues around the hub dimension, your group has sealed off the hub dimension, so let's see what goes on now. You have never in your life performed a rite such as this. It takes all of your strength, all of your resolve, and all of your ingenuity to complete it without faltering. One misspoken incantation, one false ingredient, one wrong step, and the entire endeavor will have been for naught. If you are playing in single group mode, I am playing in single group mode. Let's see what's going on. When your work is done, you and your companions lie on the cold ground, your skin tingling with the otherworldly currents. The night sky is filled with stars and no longer blotted out by swirling black entities or alternate dimensions swathed in uncanny mists. The investigators have sealed away from the cataclysm, the war. The investigators have sealed Earth away from the cataclysmic war of the outer gods. Resolution 1! Yes! Alright, so if you're playing in epic multiplayer mode, then you just seal your entrance, and now you're hopefully helping other people. You're hopefully the rest of your group will also seal off theirs. So you place 2 wards on each agenda and then advance to Act 3A. Act 3A allows you the ability to place clues on the other hub dimensions on other groups, but it's now a test of a 3 just to add 1, so it's not that great. If each undefeated group sealed on the HUD dimension, then you advance. So it's really the same mechanic. What happens though is if a ward is not sealed off, then the faction that gets to flip over their agenda 3, they all of a sudden like kind of take over control of the game. Their super big bad comes out, and now you have to defeat their super big bad, and the fate of the world that hangs in the balance. It would have been an interesting way to play this out. I mean, I had the ornate bow, I had the switchblade out, and with Delilah O'Rourke having that +1 combat, I could have gotten some damage. I'm still sitting here on Leo. It just never felt like an appropriate thing to put him in. But it kind of got pretty lucky. I never pulled any of my weaknesses for sure. I mean, here's amnesia. One of my other weaknesses must have been underneath the Trilogogs, but I also never used these deal 3 damage to non-ancient ones. My agility was decently high. Again, all you have to do is, evade your unique weakness and it goes away. So definitely some things that came together. A lot of like interesting replayability in the scenario, how it plays out. We can go to R1 just for thoroughness. The hub's many doorways are now sealed tight under your stern control. With the hub sealed, the cults fighting over its ownership should hopefully return to operating in secrecy, perhaps waiting for a time when the hub reopens and they can use it to advance their cruel agendas. Until then, the Earth is safe, relatively speaking. And then there are various story assets that you can grab that are, varying levels of good. I mean, I haven't done too much with these assets. I don't really know whether they're worth it. I know like one of my major gripes with Abyss is that the upside of actually doing well in it, which is so rare, doesn't justify it. Like the actual assets aren't that great, whereas some of these actually look pretty darn cool. They give you different abilities that could be useful in any other campaign. So that is that. So we managed to pull it off. I feel like look at those last minute add-ins that I threw. Like obfuscation definitely came in really useful once. Ellie Horowitz and the Ornate Bow came in real useful a couple of times, and just was able to kind of pull together an Ellie Delilah combo early with my first round, making maximum use of charisma in a way that kind of gave us a path. Being here in that test 4. I'm not sure if the moon ever came in handy. Obviously, I pulled really well out of the chaos bag, so that helped a lot. And by the way, if you go back and watch my Barkham scenario, I actually I added a minus that wasn't supposed to be there, so I actually won that scenario. So by the way, go check that out. I just wanted the record to be clear. Barkham is absolutely nuts, and I love it. But pulling off the win here was unexpected with good old Trish, but in this deck. But it's fun to see how things come together. We will definitely see Jack in a little bit. What time is it? I got 20 minutes for Jack. There's some parts about Jack. I got a lot of thoughts about Jack. I got a lot of thoughts about Jack. I got a lot of thoughts about Arkham in general these days, to be honest with you. But Jack is like a level of like, oh really? I get that every round? Okay, that's interesting. Well, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I really do like that build. Still find that scenario, the action economy required to do machinations in a single group mode is pretty nuts. So we'll see if I have the actions to pull it off. I don't know if it's exactly great for a true solo experience because so many things cost actions in that scenario that it's like really hard. You have very little time. So unlike here, it's like, you know, we were really able to take advantage of the fact that they were going to war against each other, really using this almost offensively, where it's like, all right, I'm not really trying to ward as much as I'm doing this because I want to get other faction enemies out so I can slow down the path of doom accumulation. And I was just able to pick the right cards. I was like, I needed a green or a red enemy, boom, I got one. I needed a blue or a green enemy, boom, I got one. So that really helped doing the wards to prevent Doom from really stacking up. Because again, it's once you get to that level 3, because not only do you have the big bad that came out when one of the Agenda 2s passed, well, now you have another big bad, and unless you're super combat oriented and you're like Mark Harrigan, or you're like a super survivor and got a couple of dynamite blasts, I'm sorry, super guardian, got a couple of dynamite blasts that you can make work, it's hard. I mean, for Trish Scarborough to stack on 10 damage or 8 damage, even with the ornate bow, and kind of survive that, obfuscation would have made that easier, right? Because I could have fired the bow, knocked it, right? Because this doesn't exhaust. I could have fired the bow, knocked it, canceled the attack of opportunity, and then fired the bow again. So that's pretty strong. That LE ornate bow combo is great. I mean, you basically get 7 resources worth of stuff out for 3 resources in one action. It's really, really nice. But obviously, that's a coin flip, right? Ornate bow could have been buried in the bottom of my deck, and then I just have LE. What's she really doing out there? But it gives you 2 extra hand slots that you don't need. Did I even have a lockpicks in this deck? If I didn't, that's a big oversight. Yeah, I really should have spent that last XP on a lockpicks just to make the lockpicks would have been more useful than the pocket telescope. So that was a fault on how this deck was built. Lockpicks are pretty much a no-brainer with Trish Scarborough. I mean, these strat values are pretty high in a lot of these locations. So, but that was a mistake. Got away with it. So, but again, I draft my decks. So I guess lockpicks. Well, I draft my decks, the starter decks. I don't draft the. I don't draft my spending of XP. I just find that too cumbersome and too random. So, but yeah, I definitely should have grabbed the lockpicks for sure. But that is about it. I will go ahead and get myself ready for the next live stream, which is going to be 10 minutes from now, I think, because I've been yammering for a good, no, I've only been yammering for 3 minutes. Great. That's a, it's not awful for me. But we'll go ahead and get this thing cleaned up. We'll get the next scenario set up. So if you want to join me again at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that'd be amazing. If not, thank you for joining me for the early part of this doubleheader, and I will see you next time. And until next time, happy gaming.